You're live with BBC News. Next, we're going to look at the situation in Ukraine. There's been a blunt warning from Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk to the world that war is a real threat and Europe is not ready. Take a look. This is what he said. He said, war is no longer a concept from the past, he said, adding, it's real and it started over 2 years ago. He wants urgent military aid for Ukraine, and he said the next 2 years will be crucial, saying we are living in the most critical moment since the end of the Second World War. Well, as war continues in Ukraine, Poland remains acutely aware of the risk of the conflict expanding. On Thursday, Donald Tusk met with his Ukrainian counterpart in Warsaw. Earlier this week, Polish Defence Forces reported a Russian missile had temporarily entered its airspace, and Poland has committed 4% of GDP to defence spending in 2024. That's a lot more than many countries, and it's urged its neighbours to up their contributions. Tusk himself has been involved in ongoing discussions with other major European powers earlier this month, with France's Emmanuel Macron and Germany's Scholz as well. Well, let's speak now to Michael Bociurkiw, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council and a Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you very much for coming on the programme.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
What do you make of these words then from Donald Tusk? A warning of war and that Europe isn't ready?
Well, they're very grave words, and he's absolutely correct. I don't think European leaders are fully prepared for what's about to happen. And let's hope that his words go all the way to Washington, where MAGA Republicans are blocking about $61 billion in aid for Ukraine. I think Mr. Tusk very well realizes that autocrats like Mr. Putin signal ahead of time what they're going to do. And Mr. Putin has long said that he wishes to so-called defend the rights of Russian speakers wherever they may be. And to me, that signals that he is prepared, very well prepared, to go beyond Ukraine to Poland, to the Baltic states. So we should take him at his word. Of course, we should prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
And when you, I just want to be clear, and I accept that there might not be a direct answer here, but when you talk about those countries, Poland, and that they're in Russia's sights, what do you actually mean? Is this Russian soldiers on the ground? Is this attacks from afar? What are you thinking?
Well, right now we have basically three front lines in this war. We have the physical one, the men and women, Ukrainian soldiers on the front line, firing back at Russians. We also have those drone and missile attacks that are hitting Ukraine very heavily. Overnight, we had about 100 or so, very directly hitting the Ukrainian infrastructure here, critical infrastructure. And then we also have the psychological warfare, the hybrid warfare, the gray zone warfare that Russia does. So I think those last two categories are very easily deployed by Russia beyond Ukraine's borders westwards. And in fact, it's not only Poland, but Romania and Moldova have also had Russian rockets already transiting their airspace and drone fragments or rocket fragments falling on their territory. I think this is Mr. Putin testing NATO to see how far he can go ahead of a possible advance.
OK, and just lastly, before I let you go, this idea that Europe isn't ready, I presume that is things like military spending as a percentage of GDP is not as high as it could be. Lots of supplies clearly have already been given to Ukraine, and that ramping up and building up of all types of military hardware needs to continue. How far behind is Europe at the moment, if Europe is indeed not ready?
Well, if Europe was ready, they would have supplied Ukraine with what it needed a long, long time ago. Instead, it's been a very drip, 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 drip approach. The other thing, just quickly, is they have to prepare their citizenry, their voters, for wartime economy, for a possible Russian advance across their borders. Right now, for example, we have Polish farmers blocking Ukrainian exports. Polish authorities have expelled Ukrainian journalists. So I think they have to get their own people in line as well to be prepared for the worst as well.
Okay, Michael Bociurkiw, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Sobering analysis there. Thank you.